Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. Last week, Larian Studios held their final panel from hell and used it as an opportunity to cover Monk, a new class added into the game. I usually don't like Monk, but the presentation was exciting and motivated me to walk through the 5 classes that appeal to me the most right now. Since we are doing that, I think it would also be interesting to walk through what my first 5 Baldur's Gate 3 playthroughs are going to look like. Those of you who have been following the channel know I have replayed Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous at least a couple dozen times, and I absolutely plan to do something similar with this game. Many of you haven't gotten out of Act 1 in Pathfinder and might have similar issues with Baldur's Gate 3. Hopefully, walking through my plans will help you figure out a playthrough you can stick with. I am curious to know your thoughts, so leave a comment down below with what classes, origins, and party members you plan to use once this game is released. I don't have any Baldur's Gate 3 game footage to match my commentary, so the panel will play in the background while I walk through the details. As most of you probably already know, my first playthrough will be as Will, and I'll be lawful good. I am really excited to find out more about his ties to Baldur's Gate, and the idea of having a patron is something we haven't seen explored in a video game format before, so I really want to see if Larian has pulled it off properly. It seems like he might be a bit of a fraud, so I think it will be interesting to force him into becoming a true hero. Plus, out of all the origin options, Will is the only one I am worried about having spoiled, so I want to make sure I can get it out of the way ASAP. Of course, this means I have to stick with Will's canon class, Warlock, but luckily I am really excited about playing that class because it makes me feel like I am always ready for battle. They get spell slots that automatically recharge with just a short rest, and the amount of these slots increases over time. Warlocks also get a cantrip called Eldritch Blast. Cantrips are spells which can be casted at will or without using a spell slot. Consequently, Eldritch Blast is always available, and it does 1d10 force damage. There's also an Eldritch Invocation you can get at level 2, which will add your Charisma modifier to the damage. 1d10 plus your Charisma modifier might not seem like a lot, but it hits like a truck in the early game when everything is much more difficult to deal with, and it's always available. Warlock has 3 subclasses, and Will comes with my favorite option, Fiend. Fiend is my favorite because it's the only Warlock subclass that lets me select the Fireball spell at level 5. I am a huge fan of setting multiple enemies on fire and absolutely want Fireball in my arsenal. Fiends also automatically get the Dark One's Blessing, which adds your Charisma modifier plus your level to your hit points every time you down an enemy. This will help to ensure Will can handle any of the heat that comes his way from all the massive damage. As far as my party goes, I plan to romance Karlach, so she has to get a slot. Her class is Barbarian, and when she hits level 3, I am planning to take the subclass Wildheart, which will automatically grant her Speak with Animals, a level 1 divination spell. Larian confirmed during the panel that there is a ton of content which revolves around being able to converse with animal creatures. At level 3, I will still be in Act 1, so hopefully I can circle back and talk with any of the animals I had to pass by previously. Also, Larian has confirmed at level 6, Wild Hearts can claim the Honey Badger aspect. This will allow Karlach to automatically enter a rage if someone poisons or charms her. That works for me. Don't you dare try to seduce my lady or poison her against me. The third slot will absolutely go to Minx. We need another frontline fighter anyway, and his ranger build will accommodate that. I know everybody and their mama seems to be raving about Gloomstalker, but to me the description of that class doesn't fit Minx, so I'll probably go with Beastmaster, since that is closer to who he really is. Bonus points to Larian if this class lets Boo attack enemies. I am also planning to multi-class him with Fighter, depending on how those mechanics work. The last slot will go to Jaheira. She's probably multi-class as a druid and a fighter, so unfortunately her healing spells will progress slowly and I'll have to rely to some degree on scrolls and potions. I don't care, there's no way I am breaking the old Baldur's Gate 2 squad up. If multi-class characters can still choose a subclass, then I'll select Circle of the Moon for her. This will give Jaheira Combat Wild Shape, which allows her to use Wild Shape with a bonus action instead of an action. My assumption is her attribute spread will lean towards martial capabilities, so this makes more sense. Hopefully this combination gives me a competent party that I can finish the game with. My second playthrough will be a Let's Play on the channel, as an absolutely pure evil, the Dark Urge. This character will be a Dragonborn, and more specifically, he'll be Smaug from The Hobbit. After being unjustly murdered by the Lakemen, his spirit has been reborn in a much smaller, weaker creature. The memory of who he was only comes in small visions, and deep down inside, he knows even if he remembered everything, he still wouldn't be able to go back and reclaim what he has lost. This fills him with intense rage and sorrow, so he represses recollections of who he was, because dwelling on them would destroy him. The only remnants of that person which remain is a deep love for gold, a propensity for cruelty, and an irrational hatred towards halflings, dwarves, and humans. My class will be Sorcerer, and they get sorcery points, which will let me add special effects onto spells, such as increasing their range, making them last longer, or letting me hit 2 different enemies. They can also be used to replace depleted spell slots. Draconic Bloodline will be my subclass. By itself, neither this nor Sorcerer in general excites me, but I am over the moon about playing as a Dragonborn. Those of you who have seen my video walking through the new character creation options know that the Draconic Bloodline subclass meshes extremely well with that race, allowing you to create truly spectacular visual effects. It should give me the freedom I need to recreate Smaug's red and gold color palette. On top of this, choosing a red dragon and getting buffs on all my fire spells will make my fireballs even more satisfying. The fact that Sorcerer lets me firebolt 2 different creatures at the same time is just icing on the cake. I plan to romance Minthara in this playthrough, so she'll get a slot until I lose control and kill her. Minthara will allow me to play the class I am most excited about in the game, Paladin. To be honest, I have not been hyped about Baldur's Gate 3 for the past few years. The first time the hype truly became real for me was during the panel from Hell when they walked through Paladin. Everything about it spoke to my spirit, and I am so happy that they added Oath of Vengeance, since it meshes perfectly with an evil playthrough. If the mechanics follow D&D rules, then this class will give her a Channel Divinity option that will frighten enemies or give her advantage on attacks against them if they fail a save. In addition, at level 7, when she hits an opponent with an attack of opportunity, she can also move up to half her speed. This will be a great option to ensure her prey cannot escape. This is the all-evil group, so Astarion will get a spot as well. He starts as a rogue, and I'll give him the thief subclass since that matches with Smaug's desire to have his underlings accumulate wealth for him. Rounding out this squad of chaos and cruelty is Lizelle. She starts as a fighter, and I'll probably make her a champion to get more of that melee damage goodness. My third playthrough will be a live stream that is heavily influenced by the community. You all will decide my alignment, and oftentimes I will ask for your guidance on what dialogue options to choose. In addition, I put up a poll on the channel to decide which origin I will play as. The victor won't be decided until Monday morning, which is probably the same day this video releases, but at this time, it appears that Shadowheart is going to win the competition. She's a cleric with the Trickster subclass, and I don't believe that can be changed. I plan to romance Gale, and he provides the opportunity to play with another subclass I am very excited about, Evocation. I've already mentioned how much I love burning enemies with fire. This subclass gives you sculpt spells, which allows my allies to automatically succeed their saving throws and take no damage from my evocation spells. Bananas. I cannot wait to unload on the battlefield with no regard for my teammates' safety. Halsin will also get a spot, and I plan to focus on his spellcasting since he's a druid who starts with 18 points in wisdom. I'll move him into the Circle of the Land subclass since it gives him natural recovery. That feature will allow Halsin, once per day out of combat, to replenish expended spell slots. This leans even more into him being a very solid spellcaster. Karlach will round out this group, and I'll probably make her a berserker to try a different barbarian subclass, especially since she doesn't have a good enough spellcasting attribute to make wild magic worthwhile. This subclass will let her go into a frenzy, allowing her to make a melee attack as a bonus action, potentially doubling her melee damage. She can also pick up objects and throw them at enemies to knock them prone. This all sounds great to me, but again, Keep in mind the community will have a great deal of control over this playthrough, so it's all subject to change. Before we walk through my last two planned playthroughs, let me remind you that the channel has a free Discord available for you to join, and the link is in the description. If you enjoyed this video, I would also appreciate you hitting the like button. Really helps the channel out, and if you want to support this kind of content, please consider becoming a member of the channel where you will get access to full playthrough episodes. My fourth playthrough will be another pure evil run, except this time I will be playing as Astarion. I am a huge Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines fan, and frankly, I haven't played any other good vampire game since. I am hoping that playing as Astarion scratches that itch until another good Masquerade game comes out 10 years from now. In addition, I am rooting for him to become an evil vampire lord that essentially takes over Baldur's Gate. This playthrough will provide the opportunity to try out another class I am very excited for, Assassin. It's so satisfying to play with a character who specializes in tearing apart bosses, and that's exactly what this should be. We don't know what the mechanics will be yet, but if it's consistent with D&D, any hits against surprise creatures will be critical hits automatically, and we will have advantage on attack rolls against creatures who haven't taken a turn yet. He'll romance Minthara, except this time we hopefully won't end up killing her. I'll take this opportunity to try out a different paladin subclass, Oathbreaker, which will give Minthara 3 new features. Spiteful Suffering is a channel oath charge, which will deal 1d4 plus 3 necrotic damage against one enemy every turn, and attack rolls against that foe have advantage. She'll also get Control Undead, which allows her to take control over an undead creature. Finally, she'll get Dreadful Aspect, which allows her to use an action to frighten all enemies within a 9-meter radius. Frightened creatures cannot move, and they have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. All of this sounds great to me. Shadowheart will also be along for the ride, so Astarion will try to see if he can romance her and Minthara at the same time. Rounding everything out will be Will, who pretty clearly has a dark side, so hopefully I can pull him down into the muck with me. Now we have come to the 5th playthrough I will speak about, and this will actually be the last time I play the game, so it'll probably be my 14th run. When I have finished good and evil playthroughs for all the other origins, and I have done a fresh run of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, then I'll finally be ready to start this. It will be another Dark Urge run, except this time I'll be playing as an orc who desires peace for all and resists his murderous urges. A grotesque green creature with a heart of gold who beats the crap out of evildoers sounds like a fantastic playthrough as the Toxic Avenger. All we need is a good mop weapon, which probably isn't in the game, so I'll have to settle for a quarterstaff instead. Usually, I don't like playing as a monk, but the panel actually made it look pretty cool, and every time they used flurry of blows, it sounded like somebody was getting their ass whipped.
So, flurry of punches, which looks badass, and that's 1 down already. Now, I don't need to be super complicated about this.
All right. Let's finish this one off.
Yeah, I am excited to play an open hand monk. According to D&D mechanics, this should allow me to knock enemies prone when using flurry of blows if my target fails a dexterity save. Also at level 6, I'll gain wholeness of body, which will allow me to heal myself once per rest for 3 times my monk level. That will definitely make me more tanky, so it's welcome. I am going to take Minx and Jaheira on this run as well, so I can better experience all the links between the 3 games in the series. At some point before this playthrough, I'll do an evil run romancing Lae'zel, but this will be my opportunity to do so as a good guy. She's only mean because people judge her due to her looks. The Toxic Avenger understands, and he can help her be a good girl. I'll move her into an Eldritch Knight for this run so she can add some spellcasting from a melee distance as needed. That's all the details I currently have regarding my initial plans for Baldur's Gate 3. Again, I am curious about the playthrough you plan to make, so let me know down in the comments which class and origin excites you the most. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. Take care.